The Chancellor's socialist budget has plunged UK markets into a frenzy this week as reality has finally sank in. The news has sent the pound nosediving to new lows last felt when inflation was at 7%. This isn't just some abstract market dip, it's the death knell for British ambition. But here's the crux of it for you, the working people of Britain. You might want to brace yourselves. Your mortgage? Well, that could rise by an eye-watering £1,000, with rates soaring from 3.8% to 3.9% following the budget. Planning to remortgage this year? Well, think again, because that could cost you an unpalatable £3,500. And bad news doesn't end there, unfortunately. Remember all that talk of nut zero reducing your bills?
The whole purpose of this, for me, is of course to tackle climate change, but as we do it, to lower costs for people, to lower their bills, to create good jobs at decent wages, to give us the energy security that we haven't had, and over the last 2 years you've seen the impact of that, of the cost of living crisis. This is about enabling people to have better lives today and to do the right thing for future generations of tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that promise is in tatters because your gas bill is rising a whopping £43 a year from 2026. But hold on, won't you promise some change?
We change our plan, not changing the conversation. Change and reform are coming. Fixing the foundations, change. Change, a £22 billion black hole of change. Fixing the foundations, change, and plan for change, change. Deliver change. But also change. We all have a stake in change.
That's a lot of change. Water bills, well, they're also up 36% over 5 years. And your council tax is also soaring on average by £100. I guess that's a lot of change, but it's only coming out of your back pocket. The last time you may have felt the burn of the economy was the media frenzy over the mini budget.
So let's look at the facts. Rachel Reeves borrowed far more in her budget than we did in 2022, but with no plans to pay it back through increased economic growth. Government gilt rates for both 10-year and 30-year are higher now than they were back in 2022. Yet at the time, I was smeared by the Labour Party and by members of my own party for having crashed the economy. I faced a 24-hour onslaught from the mainstream media, leaking and briefing. Where are those people now?
Where is the outrage from the media targeting the Chancellor and the Prime Minister then? Was Liz Truss the victim of a political takedown? Well, with all this bad news, you might be thinking, do I need a second job? Well, good luck finding one, because businesses are liquidating at record highs and millionaires who contribute 25% of the nation's tax bill, well, they're fleeing en masse. And where is the Chancellor during this economic bloodbath? One might imagine she's lounging in business class, coming back from securing a measly £600 million deal with China as our economy burns. Labour's not just making you poorer, they're torching your future and killing aspiration in this country while they're at it. But let's get the thoughts of my panel. We've got former Labour Minister Bill Rammell, former Conservative MP Michael Fabricant, and Chloe Dobbs, political commentator. OK, Bill, look, let's start with you here. Isn't this just an absolute disaster? The budget has gone from worse to worse. The British people want answers. And the Chancellor, well, she's been off in China. Where is she?
Well, look, if Rachel Reeves had cancelled her trip to China, that would have created adverse consequences and would have created a crisis. The reality is, and it beggars belief that you've got quotes coming up from Liz Truss, the difference between what happened then and what happened now is that what happened when she was Prime Minister was a result of UK government actions. Broadly, what's happened recently on the bond markets is global trends, anticipating particularly the incoming Trump administration, where there are real concerns about tariffs and the economic impact of that. What we need to do is hold our nerve. The budget measures were largely the right ones. The public backed that up. Even the tax changes by 2 to 1, people back those up. We need the regulatory reform. We need the house building and planning reform to boost economic growth. And do you know what? The talk of economic doom is really overdone.
Bill, come on. Listen, were you saying to hold our nerve when Liz Truss's mini-budget came out? Come on.
Alex, let's not listen to Liz Truss. I read the financial...
How can you say that when we're listening to Rachel Reeves? The facts are there.
Well, let's look at independent forecasters. The Financial Times survey of 600 economists last week said the economic gloom news is massively overdone and there are real grounds for optimism. The OECD uprated Britain's growth forecast this year in December by 200%. Okay. And just on Thursday, we had M&S and Tesco's with the best Christmas sales figures in years. So, yes, there are challenges as a result of global trends, but what I think the government needs to do is to hold its nerve and see this situation through.
Michael, going to bring you in on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've listened to Bill. You cannot be serious, Bill. I mean, first of all, the United Kingdom is now doing worse than Greece. Greece, where they had to be bailed out by Germany and all the rest of it. And all this nonsense you were saying, if you don't mind my saying, Bill, that we're just doing the same as everywhere else in the world, that's not so either. Because the economic situation was very poor nationally when Liz Truss was doing it, but at least it was in parallel. We're worse than Greece, we're worse than France, we're worse than Germany, and of course, we're worse than Italy. And that is not dictated by politicians, it's dictated by people who actually control the markets. They're the pension funds, they're other countries in the world. We now have a higher rate of borrowing, the Treasury, than any time before 35 years.
Wow.
It's never been so bad, and it's all of Rachel Reeves' making.
But, Michael, come on. You can say it's never been so bad, but we just had inflation soaring under the Tories for years. I mean, Chloe, are both parties to blame? Should Rachel Reeves resign for this like Liz Truss had to?
I think that Rachel Reeves should resign, and I also think that the Tories made a heck of a lot of mistakes. I don't think she's got an easy job coming in. But you need to have someone who is qualified and able to handle that difficult situation. This is a woman who was barely qualified in the first place.
Well,
and then we found out
Rachel from accounts,
and then we found out she lied
Customer
on her
complaint.
CV. She was actually
customer complaint. To be fair.
And now,
track record as an economist.
I'm sorry, but you do not have to be a genius to figure out that a budget that raises taxes by 40 billion is not going to be a budget for growth that grows the economy. She seems to be surprised that businesses are all coming out and now saying, sorry, we're going to have to sack people, we're going to make cuts, this is going to be terrible for our business. And now she's just running scared. She's not taking accountability at a time when she needs to, come out, do a press conference or whatever and tell the markets, look, we're going to take X, Y and Z action.
Chloe, that's rubbish. If chancellors do emergency press conferences, that impacts on the economic situation and that impacts upon the markets. What she's doing is grappling with global trends. And you talk about what happened under the last government.
Isn't that exactly what happened to Liz Truss with the gilt market? We're grappling with market trends.
No.
She's to blame
she
for that,
was
right?
the author of her own misfortune. Unfunded tax cuts, sacking the permanent secretary at the Treasury, not having an Office for Budget Responsibility report, all of which massively sapped
those are
confidence.
comms issues, right, Bill? Those are comms issues. And
No. They're issues of substance and policy.
OK, well, look, Liz Truss would obviously, she's not here to defend herself tonight, but she would also argue the deep state was involved in this, right? Michael, what do you make of the deep state? Is it a real thing? Is this are they trying to, having a look at what's going on with Liz, and then you compare it to what's happening today?
I don't believe...
State conspiracy?
No, I don't believe it was a deep state conspiracy. I think Liz Truss's mistake, and I've discussed it with her, actually, was that she didn't...
What did you tell her?
I told her, and she agreed with me, that
they should... fault? Is that what you said?
No. God, you're like a prosecutor. That she should have briefed some of the markets, and particularly the Bank of England, who were selling gold off at the same time, which certainly didn't help. But, there was Blair, not Blair, if only it were Blair, it was Brown, what's his name? I've forgotten his bloody name now. We're talking about Starmer.
So many of them.
Starmer, the man without a personality, saying it cost hundreds of billions of pounds after it crashed. £4 billion, and it was put straight by the Bank of England. They even had to issue a statement to put the lie to what Starmer had been claiming.
Yeah.
Just like when he claimed there'd be no tax rises and there were immediate tax rises.
Do you know what on tax? The tax rises in the budget were necessary, and people by and large...
Well, why did he say... Why did he say there would be no tax rises?
Right.
Is it because he's a liar?
No, I'm just coming to that point, Michael.
Oh, right.
I was listening to an economist last week who said that broadly Labour didn't have much option with the tax rises on businesses because the last government in its last year should never have cut national insurance by 2 pence in the pound.
But they knew that. So why did it? But they knew that. So why did he say there would be no taxes before the election?
He didn't say that.
He did. He said there would be no tax rises.
on working people.
Chloe, go on. Over to you.
Bill, even if it is the case that these tax rises were necessary, the markets, in order to thrive and in order to be stable, they need certainty. And in order for people to invest in this country, there needs to be certainty and stability. At the moment, people who are investors, they don't know what to think because at one moment you're told we're going to have a budget for growth and we're not going to raise taxes, and then they just flip-flop every 5 seconds.
But surely the case is right. Look, I just gave you the facts. We've got record amounts of businesses liquidating. Taxes are through the roof. You can't tax your way to growth, can you?
Taxes are not through the roof.
What you
saw on businesses...
He is living in fantasy land.
Businesses and the public need better investment in public services that we got in almost 15 years under the Tories. That has to be paid for. The choice was, do we put it on working people? And the commitment the Labour Party gave and Keir Starmer gave was that we're not going to do that. We never said we would not raise taxes across the board.
OK.
Investment has to be paid for.
They did, actually.
Listen, I'm going to have to leave it there, but we've got far more to talk about later on the show. I'm still not sure what working people means, actually. Anyway,